Now we touch yet another very interesting area of study in this week's class, changing the jacket as we like to call it. This is an evolution of the counter, when the hunted becomes the hunter, or as we say in KFM, redefining predator and prey. Many of the things that we learn, in truth, are very simple, but it's not the technique we're after, it's the essence. Essence is the fruit of understanding, and it is our ability to apply the concepts and principles we have studied. So rather than just trying to accumulate more and more techniques, our goal is quite clearly ability driven. Technique collecting is like a viral infection. It's very easy to catch this deluded mentality. For example, many seem to think the more techniques they know, then the better they must be, and that's so not the case. Unfortunately, this is a very common mentality amongst the martial art community, but it's also a very dangerous one. We must pay attention at all times to make sure we never adopt this deluded mentality. Developing our weapons in a systematic way is just like learning scales in music. You learn music scales note by note, and then learn how to blend it all together to create music. Our process is the same. We need to learn piece by piece, and then blend it all together. It would be really cool if there was a magical way to develop our ability. Alas, it's just not the case. Nothing can replace dedication and hard work. If we want the fruit, then we first need to plant the seed, after which we need to water it and cultivate it on a daily basis. Our learning process is no different. Again, it would be great if we could have and absorb all the information and knowledge all at once, but we can't. Information overload is like pouring a jug of water on that seedling. It drowns and dies, but drip feed it day by day and watch how it flourishes. In this next development, we just add the takedown. The concept here is for the guy on the ground to get back to his feet as fast as possible and take the opponent's back. Can you also see how the human shield is lurking there again? You look how we can take the same exercise, but by changing the nucleus, i.e. the focal point, we can create a whole new flavour, but it's still the same work. Extracting more from the same is fulfilling. A technique is fixed and set. It has a beginning and it has an end. But where does the fight start and where does the fight end? Think about it. The technique is only the first part of the jigsaw. The sad part is that many believe it's the last part. Consequently, the picture can never really be seen. Hence, the need to invent one becomes necessary. Because a lot of people are led to believe that the technique is the answer, they are unable to look beyond it, and therefore never really develop the full potential of the thing that they have learnt. We must never become a victim of this somewhat old and outdated mentality. Once again, this is just like music. If you only play the technique, i.e. the scales, then you're not playing music, you're playing the technique, which is only the foundation to the actual music itself. Unfortunately, many people in the martial arts only play scales, and this is one of the holes that exists in the martial arts. The problem with the human is that we always think we know better. better than everybody else and that everybody else is stupid. Martial arts in the self-defense arena is full of opinionated masters, all of whom have the answers, or so they like to think. But by understanding in the beginning that our possibilities are infinite, helps us to balance in the mind that there are no perfect answers to the questions that may not have arisen yet. That's why we need to be constantly studying, investigating and evolving on a daily basis. The root of this problem is conditioning. By that, we mean that all our thoughts, opinions and ideologies are all a consequence of our own experiences in life. The problem is that we judge and compare everything else that we see and hear by those past experiences. We must never forget that even the things we learn and discover are never set in stone. Things evolve constantly, and so must we. I read a lot of quotes in publicities that say, over 25 years experience in the martial arts. What exactly does that mean? 25 years of what? Product development is a word used in business. It means to be in a constant state of progress. This is only possible due to time invested in research and development. Well, what we're all doing is no different. Teaching the same thing year in, year out is boring, but worst of all, it's stagnant. Be like water are words preached a lot in the martial arts, but as we all know, when water is flowing and travelling, everything in it flourishes. But what happens when that water stops running? Everything in it stagnates and dies. If an art is not in a constant state of evolution, then really it's missing out, because everything else around us is evolving so fast. A computer is a perfect example. When it was first invented, it was groundbreaking, beyond what most people could have ever imagined. But would you still like to be working on a 15-year-old computer? Obviously not. And why not? Because you know a 15-year-old computer is a dinosaur, and the human has researched, evolved and developed better ways of doing the same thing, only 1,000 times more efficiently. Changing the jacket is one of those principles that will teach us many things. Confusion is a real part of a frantic street scenario. Stress and panic go hand in hand, as many times nobody really knows what the heck is going on. Investigating this reversal of roles on a daily basis will wake up all kinds of emotions and questions. And remember, it's the questions that provoke the answers. We first need a question before we can give an answer. Presuming is the same as trying to read the future. For most of us, it's just not possible. And if I could read the future, let me tell you, I'd be the richest lottery winner of all time. Control 4 has a slightly different feel to it than the classical mount position most people are familiar with. The main reason for this adaptation is the fact that we have no real interest in staying on the ground if we can help it. Hence, this changes what we want and expect from the mount style position. When we have different objectives, it redrives the way we develop a specific thing. That's not to say that the classic formula is less effective. It just means that it has a different role in its sporting environment. What we want and expect from our use of this position is quite different. Hence we search for different applications than are usually sought on the tatami. The guard, many times in the sporting world, is a strategically chosen position to fight from. By that, we mean that many fighters throw the guard. Now obviously within the confounds of the MMA arena, this works very well. But on the urban street, bottom position on the ground is quite simply not a good place to be. Therefore, once again, we are searching for different answers to those favoured by the sport grappler. So why may we arrive in this position? Well, probably due to unforeseen circumstances, i.e. not by choice, confirming the fact that we don't want to be there. Thus we need to escape as soon as possible. Not easy, that's for sure, especially in a multiple opponent situation, but at least we know what the objective is. As mentioned before, the changing of the jacket principle generates all kinds of problems, the best being total confusion. Even when we know who should be doing what before we start, once it all kicks off, it soon starts to get confused. And many times, especially in the beginning, nobody knows who's supposed to be doing what to who. Little by little, this confused environment seems to get a bit clearer, but never perfect, as each and every time we train, we get different problems and different energies. Hence our emotional state is never fixed, and this changes the way in which we function, from second to second. Because these classes are in the early stages of development, it's impossible to show and explain everything in a short clip. But we are instigating many questions and problems here. Can you see one obvious problem that is shown here purposely? Yes or no? Well, where are we facing when we hit position 2? Exactly, the ground. We lose sight of the other opponents. Does this have a perfect solution? No, but it does open a very interesting door of investigation. Another thing that this kind of work starts to confirm is how the simple grab plays a major role in most street fights. Therefore, it's also another area of serious study. In fact, everything that we touch upon is a very serious subject of study. The normal rule of thumb in grappling is to keep the pressure and weight on the opponent, but this is exactly the concept we want to learn how to manipulate. Opening and closing doors is the only sure way of gaining an intended and provoked reaction from the opponent. By manipulating the emotions of the opponent, this usually generates a pretty fast reaction as well. And time is quite clearly of the essence when on the ground in the street. I can remember when we started to investigate the ground deeper. It was almost a frustration, as everything we touched just opened another door, and every door we did open opened 10 more. But it was amazing at the same time, because it answered all kinds of problematic scenarios, and obviously the more you look, the more you find.
Maybe we can see a little clearer here why we're trying not to enter into the classical mount position if we can help it. Obviously we don't choose, but it's definitely not our objective. One simple reason is that our escape route is a little faster, plus we are slightly more able to deal with the change of incoming attacks. The problem with the ground in the street is not just a problem of the immediate opponent, but all those around us as well. This clearly changes everything. This is why we have no intention, if we can help it, of spending 1 second longer there than needed. Finally we arrive at control 5. This is another bad situation as we are on the bottom and need to fight our way out of a very difficult situation whilst trying to deal with the potential of receiving a vast onslaught of kicks coming in from all directions. As always, there is no perfect solution. If there was, we would all know what it is, and somebody would be extremely rich. What we can do though is compile all our years of experience and investigation in order to help us look at and study the right things. This will certainly help in our never-ending quest to understand the chaotic world of street fighting and the infinite possibilities that exist all around us. Till next week, train hard but train wise.